This isn't really a story about the runway. It's about one of the most famous faces on the entire planet, Bella Hadid, and the very human struggle that was happening just out of frame, the part you definitely don't see in magazines. I mean, just think about that for a second. What if one of the most celebrated, photographed people in the world felt like she could just be replaced? It's a pretty jarring thought, and it's a question Bella Hadid herself had to face head on. So to really get this, we have to rewind to the beginning of 2026. Because from the outside looking in, Bella Hadid had it all. She was the absolute picture of success. She was stepping into a whole new arena, moving beyond just being a supermodel with a huge acting debut. And this wasn't some little cameo. This was a major part in one of the most talked about shows of the year. It really signaled that she was this huge, multifaceted star. And it wasn't just the acting. She was setting trends left and right. Remember that super daring mini fringe she did for Marc Jacobs? That thing went viral. It felt like every single move she made just cemented her spot at the very top of the fashion world. The perfect image, right? It was shining brighter than ever. But behind that flawless public image was a completely different story. A reality that wasn't defined by glamour at all, but by a long, exhausting, and totally invisible battle for her own health. And this is where that perfect image just cracks wide open. In this incredibly honest interview, she revealed that for almost a full year, she had to turn down work while getting intensive treatment for Lyme disease. And in an industry that moves at lightning speed, stopping means you risk being forgotten. She felt, in her own words, disposable. And this was not a new fight for her. She called it 15 years of invisible suffering. Just let that sink in. While she was building one of the most demanding careers imaginable, she was secretly fighting this debilitating chronic illness the whole time. I mean, just look at this timeline. She was diagnosed all the way back in 2012. So for more than a decade, while her fame was absolutely exploding, she was quietly dealing with this. That intensive treatment in 2025, that wasn't just a little break. It was a breaking point. It was a forced retreat from the very world that had come to define her. So what do you do when the life you've built starts to feel like it's erasing you? Well, Bella did something nobody saw coming. She just stepped away from it all, looking for an escape far, far away from the flashing lights. She moved to Texas. And no, this wasn't just a vacation, it was a complete life reset. She dove headfirst into the equestrian world, building a new life centered on her own well-being and her relationship with horseman Adan Banuelos. It was all about finding something real. I mean, the contrast is just so stark, right? On one side, you got the crazy high-stakes pressure of the fashion world. And on the other, this quiet, authentic life focused on self-care and, as she put it, having a real life. It really looked like she had finally found her sanctuary. But, like in any good story, there's always a plot twist. That sanctuary, the very life she built to get away from all the pressure, it started to crumble. In January 2026, the news broke. She and Adan Banuelos were done. And this wasn't some simple, clean break either. Sources were calling it tumultuous and on and off. And it was all complicated by shared investments, including the very horses that had become a symbol of her escape. Suddenly, that Texas detour had hit a dead end. So what do you do when your escape plan completely falls apart? Well, for Bella, this is where it gets really interesting. The answer was to turn inward and to channel all of that chaos, the health problems, the heartbreak, that awful feeling of being disposable, and pour it into her art. So remember that show, The Beauty? Well, get this. The whole premise is about a virus that makes you physically perfect, but it comes with these awful, dangerous side effects. It's basically a giant commentary on our obsession with a flawless image, a world Bella knew all too well. And she actually said later that she was dealing with so much, physically and emotionally, while they were filming, that she could literally just channel all of that feeling right into her character. Her pain wasn't a roadblock anymore. It became the fuel for her performance. It was her way of taking her own story back. So what happened next wasn't just a comeback. Nope. It was a full-on reinvention. She wasn't just stepping back into the spotlight, she was rebuilding the whole thing, but this time on her own terms. In April of 2026, she launched her own fragrance brand, Orebella. And what's so cool is the idea behind it. It's all about ritual and personalization. You actually have to shake the bottle to activate the formula. It's intentional. This wasn't just her slapping her face on another product. This time she was in total control. So when you really look at it, this transformation happened in 3 big steps. First, the new role in acting, where she turned her own experience into a powerful performance. Second, the new venture, building her own brand from scratch. And maybe most importantly, third, a totally new mindset, where success isn't about the job, it's about her health and being her authentic self. Which kind of brings us right back to where we started. Bella's whole journey, from feeling completely disposable to taking back control, it really forces all of us to ask a much bigger question, one that her own TV show satirizes. In a world obsessed with a perfect image, what really is the true price of the beauty? And what does it take to find your own?